Good morning, everybody, and we've got more rookie stuff to look at. And I know you guys might be wondering, what is there left to say about this Seahawks rookie class? We've spent a lot of time, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, talking about each of these drafted rookies, and we have, but that doesn't necessarily mean the work is done. And I now want to spend the next couple of days talking about the undrafted rookie free agents that the Seahawks picked up. So, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and talk about all of our UDFAs at length because most of them we already pretty much know they're not going to make the team or the practice squad, and a vast majority of them, even though we can see that there might be some pathway to them making the roster, it's unlikely. So there are a few. There are a few UDFAs who I think warrant special attention. Just a few of them. In fact, I decided to narrow it down to four. And really, there are five, but one of them is a long snapper, Chris Stoll, and there's nothing to say about him. He's a good long snapper. Apparently, the best long snapper in the country, for whatever that means. But the other four that I want to dig into here are guys who I could see making the team. I think have a chance at the practice squad, a real good chance at the practice squad, and I could see them becoming important players at some point. Maybe not this year, but at some point I think they could be legitimate NFL contributors. So there are four guys we're going to look at in this series. I'm going to do one now, one later today, and then two more tomorrow, and then that's going to be a wrap on the rookie class. There are other UDFAs who might be worth watching a little bit. People can surprise. But these are the four guys who I would actually bet on having a real chance of making the team and having a chance of actually doing something in the NFL. So this first guy, to me, is the standout of this crop. And this is the guy, if any of these UDFAs becomes like a star player in the NFL, I would think it would be this guy. I'm not going to sit here and say he will, but he's got a shot. Matt Landers of Arkansas has a shot. And if you want to know why I feel that way, you can see it in his physical profile. Wide receiver, played last year at Arkansas. He's going to be 24 on opening day. He's tall, almost 95th percentile, 6'4.5". He's got speed to burn, 4.3740, 90th percentile, 80th percentile on his 10-yard split, 151. He's got that 10-foot 10-inch broad, 91st percentile. And those are just the measurables that are really stand out. You can look at some of these others as well. The 37-inch vert puts him in the 70th percentile. He's got longer than average arms. He is pretty much in the middle as far as weight goes, and his hands are a little smaller than the average receiver. But this guy is tall. This guy is explosive. This guy is fast. This guy is quick. If he puts it together in the NFL, he could be a legitimate star. And he's the only guy in this UDFA class who I think has a chance. There are other guys who could become NFL players, NFL contributors, valuable members of a 53-man roster. But this guy, if any of these guys make a Pro Bowl, it would probably be, my money would be on this guy. Or, I guess Chris Stoll as a long snapper, but that's different. So we're going to kind of narrow things down a little bit with Landers. We're going to narrow things down significantly with all these UDFAs. I don't want to sit here and spend a ton of time going into every little minute detail on these players. There's just no need for it. So we're just going to look at what he did in 2022, which was by far his best season in college football, and the only year he spent at Arkansas. And remember, when you look at these numbers, keep in mind that he was at Arkansas, a run-first team, very run-first. And he was working with a quarterback who is good, but isn't exactly good because he makes life easier for his wide receivers. He's good because of what he can do with the ball in his hands. He's good because of the dual threat. As far as working with receivers goes, he's not the most accurate, and he throws a very difficult ball to catch sometimes. So understand that he did what he did with KJ Jefferson at quarterback. 13 games, almost 840 snaps. He was targeted 72 times, brought in 47 catches, 901 yards. So big time, big play threat. Averaged close to 20 yards per catch. 8 touchdowns, also had a couple carries, 21 rushing yards on the season, had 3 penalties and 4 drops. QB rating when targeted was a sterling 145.6, and he made 9 contested catches on about, I think it was 22 or 23 contested attempts. Vast majority of his snaps come on the outside, did line up a decent amount in the slot, however, 94 times compared to 738 lined up wide. And even though he's a wide receiver, he actually played a slight majority of his offensive snaps run blocking compared to running routes, that is, which you usually don't see for these wide receivers, but it speaks to what Arkansas does as a team. And he was graded out fairly well overall. His grade on passing plays was quite strong. Now, when he's used as a run blocker, it was just kind of mediocre, but overall, this was a player that added value. But as for what he really brings to the table as a player, besides the obvious being his size, his speed, his quickness, his athleticism, he's a big play threat. He had a lot of big catches for long gains last year for Arkansas. I mean, you don't get to that 19.2 yard per reception average without busting some serious big plays here. He runs good deceptive routes to find creative ways to get open. He's good at using leverage, good at using false steps, good at utilizing little deceptive tricks that you use as a route runner to get open. Not that he necessarily always needs it because he's such a good speed threat, but it does help. He's good against press coverage. He can fight through it and get into his route. Pretty good at handling the physical coverage at the line of scrimmage. Consistently gives himself opportunities to make catches in coverage, although I wish he was a little bit better at actually making the catch. He's got a decent number of almost catches in his ledger. I'd like to see him start to bring those in. His mix of speed, acceleration, and height gives him massive upside. Like, from a physical standpoint, he's not DK Metcalf, but he's not super far away from DK Metcalf. He's got good hands. He reliably uses his hands to make catches away from his body. They're not amazing hands. They're not like oven mitts out there. They're not like magnets, but they're good hands. He has experience playing with a quarterback that isn't easy to play wide receiver for in KJ Jefferson. And I think he's an okay run blocker. He certainly got a lot of practice at it last year. He's not great or anything, but he is pretty good. So those would be the main things that, as of now, I like about him. There are a lot of things he has to work on, however. When he runs the shorter and quicker routes, like those quick little inside slants, it's not as sharp. Sometimes he lets the coverage get involved too much because he rounds off when he is supposed to be planting and going over the middle. He doesn't play as physically as you would like, given that the size advantage he has over pretty much any defensive back he plays. You see it occasionally, but overall I feel like he needs to play more physically. He's not going to be a big threat running after the catch. Just doesn't have the chops to make guys miss in the open field. He will need to translate his excellent testing numbers to the football field. Sometimes on the football field it looks like he only has one speed. He's either going full speed or he's not going. So he needs to learn how to have gears, and he needs to actually utilize that speed a little bit better. He's a good route runner, but he's going to have to run more kinds of routes when he gets to the NFL. The Arkansas offense route running, a little bit simplified. When he gets to the NFL, he's going to have to expand his route tree. And this is going to be a bit of a killer for him as a rookie when we are already pretty good at receiver. He doesn't really offer value as a special teamer right now, and that could end up being a big problem for us. But, a lot to love here. See you guys later today. We're going to take a look at another wide receiver in our afternoon video, but for now, let me know what you think of Matt Landers. Go Hawks.